at National Louis University. And this is our final My Becoming story of the year, y'all. So we are in our final term. Students in the room, it's your final term. Some of y'all graduating. Put up your hands if you're about to graduate. You've made a great accomplishment. We want to celebrate you. I hope this story that we shared today celebrates you as well, because this is all about you. Everything we do is for you. Those of you who aren't about to graduate, but you're almost there, don't forget, you got to keep pushing. You're almost there, and you're going to do it. You're going to do great. We are here for you to help support you. Never forget that. Yeah. All right. So to start us out, and I've lost my clicker.
Yes. It's in front of your laptop.
Of course it is. There we go. All right. So we always remember, as the community, we've got our commitments that we're going to do, right? So we're going to go through those commitments again. Safeguard our stories, Asante Sana, which means that we are thanking you. And I thank every one of you for what you're about to know, that even though I'm sharing my becoming story today, you know, I'm not going to leave it at that. Y'all have to do some talking and some sharing and some stuff too. So please be sure to share your stories, and we thank you in advance for what you're about to share. Ubuntu, I am because we are. Every single one of us is a knowledge bearer and a knowledge sharer, and we'll be respectful of the knowledge that we each have to share in this space. And then we want to listen to the griots and be the griots, which means that we are going to respectfully listen to the thoughts, ideas, and perspectives of other people, knowing that we're going to learn from that. And as a community, it will help us to grow. So we will listen. What my daughter likes to say is, we're going to listen and not judge. So can we all commit to being that today in this community?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Sankofa Services, just so y'all know, if you got your cell phones with you, grab it, scan the QR codes. We've got math with Malik, and we've got writing with Moon, and it's not on Wednesday, so she's changed her dates. So please scan the QR code, because this QR code will help you connect to that opportunity. We want you to use... I'm sorry, I said she. They. So Moon and Michael are both doing writing. Please access and use the QR code, schedule appointments, get the assistance you need to be successful in your classes. Today we've got my becoming story, and I will be sharing with you today. Next week, an exciting time. We're going to have Sarah Bass here, who is one of the writers of a movie called Advent. Advent is a movie that was written by her brother, who is a student here about to graduate, is a producer of that movie, and it is the winner of the short story of the Pan-African Film Festival, and it is also currently on the circuit to get nomination for the Oscars. Wow. But we in the Sankofa Lounge get the privilege of having access to that content now, and we're going to share it next week. So you get to see this movie before it even hits on a more public stage. So please, please, please come out next week. We're going to have some popcorn and snacks. We're going to watch a cool movie, and we're going to hear from the writer of that script about the experience of writing this amazing story. Next, and the week after that, we have the amazing and wonderful, you might need to come back for this as well. Dr. Donnell Barnett will be joining us. Yes, that's right, you got it. Dr. Donnell Barnett will be coming with us. We'll be having a Black mental health session, specifically talking about what it means for us to create generational patterns, positive generational patterns within our families. So that'll be an amazing, wonderful thing. If you haven't heard about Dr. Donnell Barnett, you need to. He's an amazing human being, and he was also the former president of the American Association of Black Psychologists, and is currently on their board and is a board member of that same. So please come and join us for that. Like, follow, subscribe. We want to get to over 500 people who are following us on either Instagram or YouTube. So let's get those numbers up. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Even though Ryan's leaving us this term, after this term, you know, Ryan, still follow us. Yeah, I'm putting you on blast. You can still follow us and be part of the family and part of the community. So please do what Ryan did and follow us and on Instagram and YouTube. If you have a concern, or let us know what you know. So if you haven't completed this yet, we need that pre-assessment to get completed because you're going to get another one at the end of this term to help us know what you've learned in your experience here at BC. We want to know how to improve that program. We want to understand that what you're learning is what we're hoping you would learn. And if that's not the case, then we got to make some adjustments, and that's okay. But we need you guys to help us by filling out this assessment. So please scan that and get that done if you haven't done so already. All right, couple more slides before I start. Anyone can apply to this scholarship, male, female, doesn't matter what your race is, doesn't matter your identity. Delta Sigma chapter is providing a scholarship for students with a 2.5 or higher GPA. So please apply. April 23rd, which is actually coming up very quickly, is the deadline to apply. So don't miss out on an opportunity to help support your education. Oh, and click it on. All right, so we are now getting to my story.
So, as we get to Miss Shelley's story, hi everybody, my name is Travis Morgan. So, Zoomies, hi to you. I don't know if y'all seen it from here there. And welcome everyone that's in the room. Shelley is so efficient that she even on her day that she's presenting still needed to get up here and do those all of those announcements for you guys. So I wanted to introduce who is my supervisor, work friend, and someone that I've been with for the past 2.5, somewhere around there years. And when I met Shelley, immediately after I met her, I knew, I was like, oh, this is going to be great, because I knew that what she thought and how she felt aligned with where I was thinking and how I felt about the work here at the university. And over time, during the period that we've been here, what I've seen is that Shelley really tries to take things to the next level. When you have ideas, she likes to come in and she takes what you have and she's able to give it a little bit more than probably what was already there. And it really pushes a lot of the work that happens here. She's really put herself in the middle of so many things that has progressed at the university, including just the fact that this space that we sit in right now has a lot to do with Shelley just not taking no for an answer and constantly having a vision.
And Anita.
I remember when she would, I know, but it's not included. I remember even before this space existed, we would walk around and she would talk about different parts of the building and say what this would look like and how this would be. And I would walk with and I say, yeah, Shelley, yeah, that's a great idea. Thinking like, that's never going to happen. And then it happened and it's here. And there's so many more things that I know are going to happen simply because Shelley won't take no for an answer. But she does it nicely, you know, in the way that she refuses to take that no for an answer. And so I have absolutely enjoyed working beside you. I appreciate you as my supervisor. I appreciate the things that you've been able to point out to help me grow. And I know that even today, be prepared. We're all about to do some work. We're not just going to sit here and listen. Y'all know Shelley got some work for us to do. So with that, welcome, Shelley Lips.
Thank you, Travis. I asked Travis last minute to do that, by the way, y'all, and that's how phenomenal he is, that he can just do stuff on the fly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, everybody. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me today. And please know that I have always been a writer. And I love telling my story in writing. So I wrote everything down. So what you're about to see is of me reading off of what I have written. And so this is me, the Pickaninny. A young little Pickaninny from Trinidad and Tobago. And yes, you heard me right when I used that term. This was the word that my father would use. This is my dad here. In affection reference to his children. So already I'm going to pause and ask the room. Does anybody know what a Pickaninny is? Have you heard that term before? I know my Black folk are nodding with sadness that it was used. Yeah. So a Pickaninny is a term that was created during colonization and slavery to downgrade Black individuals in reference to them being poor, being unintellectual, and being incapable. And that was a term that my father used in loving reference in Trinidad to his children. What I want you to see is this girl Pickaninny. They even dressed me like her. Now, I'm not upset with them. I'm not angry at them about it because I've had to do my own thinking and processing around why that might be. Why would it be that they would use such a term in loving reference to their children? But my parents didn't know any better. My father specifically did not know any better. He himself grew up in colonized Trinidad. Trinidad did not become an independent nation from Great Britain until 1949. That's less than 100 years ago, y'all. So they were under the complete direction of Britain, even up until the 1940s. He was only 45 years old when that happened. So he was still growing up in the experience of British belief, British thought. And so a pickaninny was a term he had heard, and his parents had heard, and their parents had heard. And it was just a generational term that was used that we then took on to say was in loving reference, not really realizing the damage and harm it could cause. So Trinidad is still very heavily, even to this day, influenced by British culture and how they define Black folk. In caricatures, in stereotypes. This is actually from a British article back in the 1800s. So my dad was raised with that thinking. Everyone was raised with that thinking. It was passed down to me. So then I struggled to believe that I had very much value and worth. The chain came on. This is me. The only. I spent much of my academic experience growing up in Calgary, Alberta. Have any of you heard of Calgary, Alberta? It's where the Olympics were in 1988, y'all. And in Alberta, for those of you who don't know much about it, it is predominantly white. It is predominantly Middle European whites, so Ukrainian, Polish, German. And that's what I was surrounded around. I love me some pierogies, y'all, because of it. But I continued to hear because I was so different from everyone else. And by the time I got here, by the way, I felt, whoa, things are changing in Calgary because look, there's an Asian girl. There's an East Indian guy. I wasn't the only anymore, but I was still the only Black individual. She was still the only Asian individual. He was the only East Indian individual. We still had onlys. And we're all differed because of it. Because I have the Caribbean female figure, the typical female Caribbean figure means that you have a tiny waist and a big butt. And I have that. But because I was used to being around Eastern European individuals who are very slender in their shape, my curves were considered fat. My curves, my face was considered ugly, my lips too big, my eyes, why are you wearing glasses? Because as you can see by this time, more people were wearing glasses, but a majority don't even wear glasses. So even in this space, wearing glasses was a difference. And every one of those differences continued to be pointed out. It was oppressive. It made me sad on a daily basis, but I always smiled. Everybody always saw the smile because I couldn't let them see how much their words, their descriptors of me being fat and ugly. And a teacher who once said to me, "You're Black, you're not going to be good at math and science.
That's crazy.
Statistically, we all have to remember back in the 70s and 80s, in the education system, were many studies done still on Black brains and Indigenous individual brains to intentionally say that those brains, because of the shape of them, they could not hold. Those were scientific studies, they were you can look them up, they existed. And so these were the things that my teachers, because they were well-educated individuals who read these studies, would then impart that onto me. So I couldn't be smart. I couldn't be beautiful. I couldn't be slender. The words attached to me in my childhood was that I was fat, ugly, and stupid. More shame attached to my body. I'm gonna break you up. Let me see. How many people do we have in Zoom? Oh, we got a lot. I'm gonna put you guys into a breakout room, and in this space as well, I want you to find a partner or 2 partners, no more than 2 other people with you though. We're gonna have a conversation. Think back to your own personal experiences, and what do you remember about words that were used to describe you throughout your childhood? What were the words that you heard from others? How did they describe you? What were those words? And how did it shape the way that you view yourself? So we're going to do these breakout rooms. All right, so oops, cancel. I don't cancel it. We're going to create those again. All right, so I would like for you to join a breakout room if you can right now.
Hello, Dr. Lemons.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. Oh, wait. Since I was like, whatever, like, 2 guys, but. I was passed down as how that was the way that it played it, and his dad played it. Actually,
I'll have to make sure you put a support on you.
Yeah.
That's okay. All right. Thank you.
Do we have to like get tell you about
I will.
I feel like I'm.
do you know? You had a discussion about those kind of.
All right, does anyone want to share from their conversation? Right?
With a huge smile on my bed. Michael, I should take this.
Stay nice and loud so the Zoomies can hear you.
All right, so what do I remember about the first words people used to describe me? They weren't super bad. There were a couple bad ones, but they weren't like crazy. But I do remember that it did kind of hurt my feelings a little bit when people would say derogatory stuff or borderline derogatory stuff. What were they? So I was born in Russia. I'm half Chinese and half Russian. And so some of the words that I was called, trigger warning here, I was called chink. I was called kook. People call me rice muncher, which was not a good one. And also one that I've been called here, which is kind of crazy, is white boy, because I know I look whiter than I do Asian. And back when I was a kid, being called like I just didn't understand why I did that. So how did it shape how I view myself? I think when I was in like middle school and high school and stuff, and I was called and stuff, I wanted to go more towards that because that's how people taught me. So I was like, oh, well, thanks, like white boy or something like that, and maybe I should start looking like dressing more white or whatever. And growing up in a more white dominated neighborhood, I didn't really have like much of my culture either because I was adopted. So any culture that I might have had, I don't really have anymore because my parents are white, and so when I was adopted, I was 1.5. So I never really had it, ways I guess. But it's just I feel kind of like I never got to connect to it, and then when people say stuff like that, it makes me want to like go away from it more because it's like, oh, people kind of think like it's a bad thing or it's just like that I am that or something like that. So you're right.
I'm gonna take one of the Zoomies online. James said, I see your hand is up.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I'm literally chewing. Thank you, Shelly, for sharing your story. And I'm so sorry to the individual that was speaking about their story. I'm sure that was really, really hard. I'm just going to speak about me and my colleague had very similar stories in relation to the idea of being the positive, extroverted, One in the room, I think some of the words that was described to us as like, you're always so happy, you're always so joyful and positive. And I know that can seem like not very jarring. Like, yeah, it's not a bad word. But I think what people don't realize is when you put that pressure on someone to always be happy, when you're not feeling happy, because we're humans and we go through a lot of hardship in life, and you're not happy, then what happens is people go, "What's wrong with you?" And it's like, I don't know, just living as an authentic human in a life where political harm is happening, and I work in education, and there's like systematic, oppression and things that happen like that. I'm a Black woman, so many different things. And so I think that's how it shaped me was I felt like I needed to always bring the energy or the joy for other people in their lives. And that really affected how I saw myself. I'm now entering my 30s, and I've learned to realize that is not my responsibility. My responsibility is to show up as my authentic self. What I could be joyful or I cannot. And it's their responsibility to be that joy. If someone asks me, you relate to Joyce? Yes, Juanita. Yeah, Juanita was the girl that I was speaking with in my Zoom group. Yeah, like literally, you just have to understand that that's not your responsibility. If there's anyone in that room that feels like that, who is telling you like, yeah, you're the positive one, and they're asking you what's wrong because you're not smiling, especially my Black women in the room, there is nothing wrong with that. You can show up authentic as yourself. So that's kind of what we talked about.
Thank you, James. I know we've got lots, and we'll do you real quick, Will, and then we're gonna keep moving because we're.
I didn't really experience the negative things that I did experience. I didn't attach myself to them, but I was usually the thing I remember being described as the most is an old soul. And like I told the people I talked to, that at a young age, that made me feel like I had more responsibility than I did as a kid. And I also didn't notice how that would affect me as I grew up. But I didn't see it as a negative thing. I didn't see it as a positive thing. I just accepted it. And here I am. And I feel like just as I just said about the having a responsibility thing, I feel like that carried on to today. Like even today, amongst my peers, I feel like the intellectual. I feel like the person that thinks so deep into situations that's always trying to figure things out and figure out a way to do it easily or do it in a way that's beneficial to everybody.
So it sounds like you placed responsibility on your shoulders to deal with things because of the label that you were given. Thank you. So this is me, college years. Yes, this was the 90s, and yes, the Doc Martens are back because we wore them then. And yet again, I am the only. My college years were fun. I was starting to explore myself. I was starting to understand things about who I was. I was in drama. This was my third year in my undergraduate program for theater. I was about to become an actress. I just got accepted into the final year where they only allowed 5 of us from this group into the final grouping of students to take the final acting level classes. So I guess I knew what I was doing. I didn't believe it though, because I still had those chains connected to me. Until I met Gavin. Gavin was my professor. He's not in this picture, sorry, that's Pamela. But Gavin was one of my stage professors, so stage design. It's just like, oh, theater's so fun, right? Stage design is math, yo. And what did I get told about what I thought about math and who I was when it was related to math? Anybody remember? I can't do it.
What?
So I get to this math architecture class. So it's not just regular math, it's architectural math, yo. Stage design. And I looked at Gavin and I said, because my entire academic experience as a Black individual, what I've learned is that we like to question everything. And it's hard for many of us to understand principles and concepts without an explanation and a background as to why it exists. So for those of you who are in the room who might be struggling with a thing or a theory, And it's because nobody's explained the reason why that theory exists in the first place. Get your answer. And if your professor can't get you the answer, keep searching till you find it and then go back and tell your professor what the answer actually is. Because I met Gavin. And I asked Gavin, I thought, I'm not going to ask any questions about why is this mathematical formula work? Why does it do what it does? Why do I have to memorize this to do this thing? But I thought, okay, I'm going to be brave and I'm going to ask and I'm going to raise my hand. I was like, Gavin, I don't understand. Why does that formula lead to the angle that it brings? And he looked at me and his eyes were big as saucers and deer in headlight. And my youthful self was just like, oh shit, I'm going to get yelled at again for being disruptive and asking the wrong questions. And you all remember hearing that about yourselves in class? Gavin looked at me. He erased the board and said, that's not going to be on your exam because I can't answer her question. That was the first time I felt validated for asking a question. It was the first time I felt seen by a professor when in my entire academic experience, people kept telling me, just shut up and do it. And he helped me to see it's okay to ask questions. Poor Anita knows she's the result of me doing that now. It's just like, Anita, no, I'm not understanding that. I need to ask more questions until I get, thank you, Anita, for indulging my questions, for being another Gavin in my life, and for letting me ask the questions. We all need those people in our lives who will let us ask the questions. Gavin opened up my mind in a way that I hadn't realized. I am smart.
Yes, you are, Shelly.
Thank you, Nina. The links and the chains were starting to fall off. Another thing I realized in my college years, there was another professor I had because, y'all, I'm a hot mess transfer student story. I like to say that because transfer students who are in the room, it's okay. It's your journey. And I did, as you heard, I was about to head into my fourth year, my final year of acting. That's not the degree I got, y'all. And a BFA does not translate except for one English class that I took into my next step, my next self, which was counseling psychology. I felt like a failure because I had to start again. Until I met Carrie, who was at my Bible college that I was taking classes at. Carrie looked at me in a meeting, in an advising coaching meeting one day and said to me, Shelly, I need you to understand this. You think differently than most humans think. So it means that you might be walking a bit of a lonely path. Now you're hearing that and going, oh, that sucks. That was like a light bulb on me. And I was like, dang, he sees me. He gets it. People don't get me. And he just got me by saying that. By saying people wouldn't understand me because I thought differently, because I saw the world in a both micro and macro way, all at the same time. And it doesn't stop. Megan knows. I'm always thinking this way and this way and this way and this way. Most people can't think that way, and that's not a bad thing. It's just the way humans are made. Apparently, it's only about 5% of the human population who clearly, easily can do that movement and see big picture puzzle while also understanding how individual pieces fit in to make sure the puzzle works properly. I didn't realize that. I didn't know that about my brain. Nobody ever told me that. They just always told me I was disruptive. Stop being so challenging. Why are you always questioning everything? Harry helped me to see that that's your brain and that's okay. Another chain fell off. And then this doesn't work as well as I wanted to. I apologize. So this is my friend Stephanie. Megan knows Stephanie. Can you wave, Megan? She's not here.
Okay.
She's gonna listen to it later.
Hi, Steph.
Megan and Stephanie and I were on a team together at City Colleges of Chicago. Stephanie Craw, and I think Megan can attest to this, she is the woman who will walk into your life like a whirlwind with joy and passion and energy. And Adria, wave Adria. Adria is new to the NLE community. Can we say hi to her? Them, I'm sorry. Adria said that she wants to have a boss who allows her to be herself, themselves, who trusts them to get the work done, who just gives clear guidelines of what's expected and then expect them to get it done, right? Did I get that right? This was what Stephanie was for me. So I was in my 40s when I met this woman who completely changed my life, my daughter's life. She's changed the lives of everyone who is around her. Do you see that smile? She is joy. She is truth. She is let me be clear. And she allowed me, for the first time in my work experience, to actually do my work. She would look at me and she'd say, well, you're the expert in this, so what is it we're supposed to do? Tell us and we'll work on it and we'll get it done. No one had ever in my work experience trusted me to the level that Stephanie trusted me to get things done. She allowed me to step into my boldness. That was the thing she always told us to do. Travis, I'm sure you've heard what Travis had said, Megan, about that I take a thing and it's because we are yardsticks, according to Stephanie, in a world of rulers. 12 inches compared to the yard. Stephanie believed in everything that I had in my intellect and my capability and just said, yeah, do it. I learned so much from her. And I value her so much for everything she has done in my life, personally, professionally. She is the godmother of my daughter. She helped my daughter become an author by co-writing a book with her. She has been an amazing person that I found freedom. Sure. Megan, I know you feel the same. So Stephanie is an important piece to my story because I found my first true freedom, my first real breath in my 40s. I hope it never takes that long for any of you. And that you can all get there faster than I did.
And if it does, it's okay.
And if it does, it's okay. Because it's your journey. But Stephanie put on me words of bold, passion, advocate, friend, companion, trustworthy. These were words that had been used semi about me throughout my life, but nobody had ever compiled it and said, this is you, step into it, stop hiding it. Just be you. Which had me thinking, who am I really? What are the words that I've been taking on the words of so many other people all these years for all my life that I needed to now redefine who I am. I need to define who I am. Nobody can tell me who I am because they have not walked in my steps. They have not experienced my journey. So then I came here to National Louis University with a level of boldness. Thank you, Stephanie, for helping me have that boldness in my life. I am excited to be able to share with you these next people. Because these people, oops. This does not work as well as I wanted to. All right. These are my ancestors. And you're gonna say, Shelley, you're supposed to start these becoming stories with your ancestors. Why are you going back in the timeline? It doesn't make any sense. Because these are my ancestors, and I did not discover the truth of who they were until about 5 years ago. So I'm going to encourage all of you, go find out who your relatives are. You might find out interesting things, scary things, joyful things, exciting things, but find out where you come from, because it helped to make me even more bold. My grandmother, as you see, it's in the TNT Guardian, which is a Trinidad newspaper. In the lead up to Carnival, the musical fraternity lost one of its pioneers, with the death of Marjorie Wooding, who passed on January 22nd in Orlando, USA. Special homage, because the entire country, y'all, shut down, flags came down, all that stuff, for my grandmother, who gave Pantran Bago its name. Anybody heard of Pantran Bago? Probably not, unless you're from the Caribbean. Pantran Bago was the very first steel pan group in Trinidad, ever. Anybody know what steel pan is?
It was invented.
It was invented in Trinidad, yes, out of oil drums to create beautiful music that's now used in classical orchestras. It wouldn't exist in these classical orchestras if it wasn't for Marjorie Wooding, who then started Pantran Bago. Have you ever heard of steel pan competitions that happen during Carnival? She started them. It's because of her. I was talking to my aunt even just a month ago, and she's saying, there's so much I'm finding out about Mommy that I didn't know. Because she never told us all these things. She just lived her life. In Trinidad, the Anglican Church has a set of specific music that they use throughout all of their services. It was written by Marjorie Wooding, used to this day by the Anglican Church, not just in Trinidad, but across the entire Caribbean in all Anglican churches. This is Sir Hugh Wooding. And yes, it says Sir, which means he was knighted by the Queen of England. Sir Hugh Wooding, whose wife, by the way, I just discovered while I was writing this, as I continue to discover more about him. He died the year that I was born. But Sir Hugh Wooding married, kind of stole from him, the girlfriend of Langston Hughes. She married him. This beautiful Ghanaian woman became his wife, but she was first with Langston Hughes before Sir Hugh. Shortly before she married Sir Hugh, by the way. Fun things I'm discovering in their history. But Sir Hugh Wooding, knighted by the Queen of England, because he was the very first magistrate in all of the Caribbean. The Sir Hugh Wooding Law School, which serves to train all lawyers across all of the Caribbean. It's named after him. He was the first chancellor of the University of the West Indies. That's my ancestor. This is just a part of my story. The other part of my story is why I will hopefully one day can tell y'all why I had to become an anti-racist and why I became anti-racist, because I was racist at one point in my life against my own people. And the reason I can say I was racist, because we believed in British Trinidad, things about Black people, American Black people that were inaccurate and untrue, because it's the divide that wants to continue to be created amongst the Black communities. But the reason I could say I was racist is because Marjorie Wooding had the entire country shut down at her death. Hugh Wooding has a law school named after him, and he was the first chancellor of the University of the West Indies and advised the Queen in areas of education and law. That's power. So the only way you can be a racist is by holding power. So I have to own, because I come from this, that I held power. The reason that even though people told me I was fat and I was ugly and I was stupid and they put all these labels on me, I still would look at them and go, so I would cry in my bedroom at night. But I still felt a boldness to say, man, no, you're not going to say that to me. It's because I have power, untapped power. I didn't know that it existed, but it was still within my DNA. It was still there in my genes, the power of these people. So I want y'all to keep remembering that you have your family, you have your ancestors, you have your people. Now this is me. I am a wife of Michael John Lemons. I'm the mother of Rowan Carol Ruth Lemons. I am the sister of Beverly Kendall. Deborah's not in that picture. She's my half sister who's amazing and beautiful and human being. But Deborah, I am a daughter of Carol. Bruce has since passed, but I'm the daughter of Carol Wooding. I am damn smart. I am gorgeous. Yep. I am not fat. I'm gonna be a little chunky now that I'm in my 50s. My hormones are doing its thing. But I'm not fat. I am deeply thoughtful. I'm deeply intellectual. I'm choosing to own those words about who I am today. I'm stubborn, right, Anita? But I'm stubborn for love. I'm stubborn for justice. I'm stubborn for truth. And I'm not going to tell anybody that they can't be stubborn. Because if you're stubborn for something that matters, it's okay to be stubborn.
Amen.
I want us to think about the 2 to 3 people in your life. And share with 2 to 3 people who you are. I want you to focus on the truth of who you are, not what anybody else has told you you are. What is the truth of who you are? And then are there words that you want people to know about your truth about who you are that has not yet been recognized? And how can we help each other to stand in that truth and celebrate the truth of who each of us are as individuals? So go ahead and find a partner. I'm only going to give us a few minutes on this one. Zoomies, I'm going to put you in a breakout room in just a moment. And go ahead and find a partner. And I'm going to give you a few minutes. Go ahead.
Okay.
Photograph?
Yeah, she go a little south.
All right.
That's never what's true. It's not a.
Where I'm sure like I'm
I would say right now. Like you. Yeah, just trust each other. Just trust your.
Oh, I know.
Clearly,
I'm like, you know,
Margaret, like nothing's saying.
yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Like those get negative, and so I think.
No, yeah. Also, like, I learned certain products.
On Zoom to share about your conversation. Who wants to go? I want to hear from our students. I love our students.
I don't mind going. Good evening. Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Kendria.
Hi. I just enjoyed my group, Lena and Stella. Lena says she's an introvert, but after reading her messages, I said she's that quiet storm. She's that still fist in a velvet glove. And then with Stella, she has that bold presence about herself. So I want those sisters to keep standing firm in that and don't let anyone dim their shine at all. But thank you so much for having this. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendria.
You're welcome.
In the room, Deilani, go ahead.
I would say, and this is coming. Stop that. I'll say I'm like an overthinker in a way. I always feel like that I ain't doing something right, or I'll be overthinking situations when in reality everything's going perfectly fine, something like that.
Okay. How can we take that term and define it in the most positive light possible? Because I'm stubborn. But what am I stubborn for? I said I was stubborn for love, for justice, for truth. Stubborn for good things.
I overthink because I care about people.
That's the truth of who you are. So even remember, if you start to define yourself by a negative term, a term that can typically be defined by others as negative, think for a moment and say, why am I this way? What is it that's driving this? And find the goodness and the positivity in it. Because people will continue to quickly jump on, oh, you said you were this, and they're going to keep putting the label of negativity on you, even though what you meant was something positive and good.
If we got time, Amber said she wants to share too.
Okay, let's share real quick, Amber. You did not? Okay, well, we're not going to make people share, Deilani. We don't do that here.
I know who I am.
Oh, I know you know. All right, so thank you so much for being here. I just wanted you to keep thinking about who you are, the truth of who you are, why you do what you do, and celebrate it. The world needs to celebrate the goodness of who you are in every way, and do not take on you the labels of other people, unless it's good. All right, thank you so much. Thank you for hearing my story. Thank you for hearing me.
Yeah, about
Thank you, Zoomies. Have a great week.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Thank you.